Stop watching me and say something. Did Grandpa send you to look for me? I bet he did. Really? Thank you. Just so you know, I'm here just waiting for the perfect moment to snatch that sword. And once I have it, I'll melt it down before anyone can react. Don't even think about stopping me. No one can stop me. Grandpa sent you here. Surely he doesn't want you to help me. Have you heard of cursed swords? That sword is one. You've clearly heard a lot of folk tales. But that's not the kind of cursed sword I'm talking about. A cursed sword lets anyone, even a complete novice, wield it with insane skill. Just by holding the hilt, even the weakest rookie can brandish it with incredible speed and strength. I'm not joking around. And I'm not making up some crazy story. While a cursed sword grants instant abilities to its wielder, it comes at a cost. It's like continuously adding fuel to the forge. With each swing, the sword drains the wielder's blood and essence. Day by day, the fuel will run out, leaving nothing but an empty husk. Soon enough, it will no longer be a person wielding a sword, but a mindless, killing machine, consumed by bloodlust and murderous thoughts. Oh, so you're familiar with Heliobi. That makes this much easier to explain. There was a lunatic swordsmith who infused metal blades with Heliobi, as he was obsessed with turning weapons into living things. And this is how cursed swords were made. I know, I shouldn't have caused a scene at the sword gifting ceremony. But I've thought this through. If I don't make a fuss now, that cursed sword will cause a whole lot more trouble. So it's better if it's me causing the trouble. By the way, aren't they supposed to be taking the sword to the Artisanship Commission for repairs? Why haven't they come out yet? Any ideas? Looks like they're not going to show up here. I'll just head straight to the Artisanship Commission. It doesn't matter why Grandpa chose that sword. I won't let it fall into anyone else's hands. I'll track down every single sword he forged and melt them down one after another. Just like I've been doing all these years. I have to go now.
Is she planning to sneak into the Artisanship Commission and steal that sword? Maybe I should keep an eye on her. The Artisanship Commission is so big. Where could she be?
Just a while ago, a girl came up to me, all fierce and demanding directions. She said she's a member of the Artisanship Commission. Do you know her?
no idea who she is. If she really works here, how can she not know her way around?
Oh, I see. That explains it then.
Explains what? It explains nothing at all.
She said something like, "I'm a member of the Artisanship Commission. Where do you keep your precious stuff?" I got scared and pointed her toward Master Gongshu's warehouse, where he stores his arumatons.
Wait, why did you give her directions? What if she's planning to steal something?
Where else? Like I said, she was headed straight for the warehouse, where all the valuable arumatons are.
Yeah, that place is filled with Master Gongshu's precious arumatons. I bet they'll give her a hard time.
Please stay tuned.
Sound ringers. What are you doing here? Look, if I get into trouble, it's my problem. I don't want to drag you into it. Fine. Let's smash these metal cans first. Then we can talk.
Target sighted. All units on alert.
The mood is set. Just let the show begin.
I'm so everything burns to ashes!
Nice psychic, my friends. Indulge yourselves!
Take your positions. Dreams do come true.
This is more than a battle. Set to the speed of light! Attack detected. Grace and elegance. That was the last of them. Thank you for helping me out. This place is heavily guarded, but there's nothing but arumatons. Where is the arsenal? Seems like not even those craftsmen know where the arsenal is. At this rate, we won't find anything. And Grandpa might take me away before I can do anything. You're not really here to help me. You're here to stop me, right? No, it's not. Grandpa made a promise to the delegation, and going back on his word would tarnish his reputation and make things difficult for the Luofu. But leaving that cursed sword here will also make things difficult for the Luofu. So all things considered, the best outcome is for me to melt that sword down and take all the blame. You probably think I'm being impulsive and unreasonable, right? No, really. Do I come across that way? Well, I guess I can't deny it. Seems like you've met a lot of people. who don't tell you the whole story. Look, I owe you an explanation, but this isn't the best place to talk. We need to find somewhere else. Let me be clear, though. I'm still pretty riled up. This is just a temporary break. I already told you about Guyan, the sword that was returned during the ceremony. It's a cursed sword with a helioblast inside. And Han Guang, the swordsmith who forged it, is my father. I rarely mention his name to anyone other than Grandpa. Maybe, like you said, I've been avoiding having to talk about him. But as long as my mission to hunt down cursed swords continues, it's impossible to avoid the topic forever. For some reason, I feel like I can open up to you. Honestly, I don't remember much about him. All I know is that the Pyrogyre Forge used to be a bustling place, with people from all over coming to get one of his swords. They called him the greatest master craftsman since Yingxing. I didn't catch all the details, but I do remember seeing him forge those amazing swords, while the visitors watched with smiles on their faces. I used to believe that craftsmen brought happiness to others. The swords crafted by the Pyrogyre Forge are famed across the stars. They possess exceptional sharpness and invincibility. With these legendary weapons, even ordinary people can become skilled warriors, capable of overcoming the most formidable opponents. But then, he became obsessed with becoming a famed swordsmith, and started crossing all sorts of lines. He forged cursed swords that should never exist. And all those people who desired those twisted swords started flooding into the palace. However, just like Grandpa said, those who excel with the sword will eventually suffer by it. The palace is overrun with visitors from afar. Some left empty-handed. Others got swords that didn't fulfill their desires. And some even resorted to stealing. And in the midst of all the chaos my father created, he ended up being stabbed by one of the swords he forged. It was so sudden and unexpected. Everything went silent for a moment. All I could hear was the sound of bones breaking and blood pouring out. I was frozen in place, unable to move. It was only when my mother pushed me away from the deadly swing of the cursed sword that I managed to escape. I don't remember much after that, except for the pounding of my heart and the sound of my own gasps of breath. I could hear the smiths in the Pyrogyre Forge shouting, "Run away, Yunli!" and the screams of agony. My tears wouldn't stop, and I couldn't see anything. I kept gasping for air until I collapsed in a pool of blood. If General Huayan hadn't arrived in time, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you now. After that, General Huayan took me in and treated me like his own granddaughter. To me, he is 100 times better than my sinful father. He taught me forging and swordsmanship. Han Guang paid for his sins, but his troubled legacy must not go unchecked. According to the records, he forged a total of 1,382 Heliobus cursed swords, and 182 of them had unique designs. When I joined the Pyrogyre Forge for training, I made a vow to hunt down all those cursed swords. So far, I found 312 of them, and Guyun will be my 313th. Like all the other cursed swords, I'll separate it from the Heliobus. Then, I'll melt it down and make it part of the Blade of Forged Remnants. I've said my piece now. Even though it'll be tough for Grandpa, I still have to melt down the sword. So, you're saying, even though Grandpa knew it was a cursed sword, he still chose it to be a prize because he thought it wouldn't cause any trouble? No. No matter how I think about it, something is definitely off. Grandpa didn't tell me anything about the ceremony. He must be hiding something. Besides, after our argument today, you want me to go back and talk to him now? No way. At least not today. Maybe tomorrow. Somehow, after talking to you, I feel like I've cooled off a bit. Well, I'll have an honest conversation with Grandpa tomorrow. And I won't take any action against Guyun until he gives me his reasons. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that in a public place. Anyway, thank you. We'll catch up tomorrow.
I should go back to the Palace of Astrum and tell General Huayan what happened at the Artisanship Commission.
My granddaughter didn't cause any trouble, did she, young lady? Sorry for all this trouble. Yunli told you quite a bit. Now it's time for this old man to tell my side of the story. Han Guang was my beloved disciple. A rare genius not seen in the Pyrogyre Forge since Yingxing. However, talent can sometimes be a curse. He had an unusual fervor for forging, and he dreamed of forging a sword with self-awareness that surpassed that of humans. He believed it would make warriors invincible without any training. According to him, while weapons of mass destruction like Zhu-Ming flames and alchemical arrows can destroy many enemies, true victory lies with soldiers who fearlessly fight, ready to lay their lives on the line. Usually, Xianzhou swordsmiths infuse a basic level of awareness into their swords to make them easier to wield. But even then, Soldiers need to experience countless battles to overcome fear and sharpen their instincts. So, by infusing heliobi into swords, he managed to forge weapons that could grant their wielders strength and valor, and even make decisions for them. However, weapons are different from regular tools. They are meant to kill, plain and simple. After countless battles, all the anger, fear, and bloodlust are soaked up by the heliobi within the swords. The soldiers wielding them not only gain strength, but they also become consumed by the malice, turning them into puppets possessed by the swords. No matter how noble Hongguang's intentions were, those weapons, soaked in blood, turned into cursed swords eventually. Later, Outworlders got wind of what he was doing and encouraged him to keep forging cursed swords. They came up with all sorts of reasons, from taking back their kingdoms to slaying demons. And you know what happened next. That massacre took her parents' lives, and the lives of many craftsmen in the Pyrojaya Forge. Yunli managed to survive, but she couldn't escape the horrors of that day. Yes, I don't want her to spend her whole life trapped under her father's shadow. She doesn't deserve to carry the weight of his mistakes. Despite her vow to hunt down and wipe out all cursed swords, fulfilling that vow requires immense effort. Traversing the starry seas in search of the swords is like finding a needle in a haystack. And to reclaim those swords, she has to duel the bloodthirsty wielders, teetering on the edge of life and death. She has taken back over 300 cursed swords and has suffered the same number of fatal wounds. I took her in to give her a chance at a normal childhood, not to send her on a sword-hunting journey. Even if she manages to melt down all the cursed swords one day, what will she do with her life after? Hu Yin is indeed one of the cursed swords forged by Hongguang. Very few swordsmiths could use heliobi as forging material, and Hongguang was one of them. His attempt came at a terrible cost. I thought this sword could be an opportunity. I wanted to tell her that her father wasn't all evil, that even the man she resents so much managed to forge a true sword of heroes. I also wanted to find a chance to tell her about the history and origin of this sword, but not during the ceremony. As you saw, it wasn't a good time. I've instructed the Artisanship Commission to keep the sword safe in the arsenal. If you have any doubts, feel free to ask the people involved. Since my granddaughter mentioned talking to me tomorrow, I'll be waiting for her. By the way, you watched over her for quite some time. You must be exhausted, aren't you? I'll be counting on you then.
Time to go back and find that class-skipping March 7th.
the way to celebrate. I'll be waiting till we make it the day to celebrate. I'll be waiting till we make it. Oh. Come with me, take the journey. We will see.
All right, everyone is here. It's time for questioning.
Yunli, I'm sure you understand why the official called you here, right?
Yeah? But I didn't steal the sword.
Unfortunately, official Dahao didn't hear Yunli's promise. If we don't recover the sword, we will be breaking our promise to the lawful and betraying the delegation. We're counting on you to find the truth, official Dahao.
Yes. It's my duty to thoroughly investigate the case. Even though Yunli is firm in her words, we can't just rely on her testimony.
After everything, the sword still got stolen. They should have given it to me from the beginning.
In this case of Gu Yun's theft, everyone involved seems suspicious to some extent. Miss Yunli is the main suspect. First, during the sword-gifting ceremony, Yunli openly expressed her intention to steal the sword. She even mentioned it multiple times. After the ceremony, she broke into the Artisanship Commission and destroyed aromatons in an attempt to get the sword. Am I right?
That's true.
The Realm-Keeping Commission inspected the arsenal where Gu Yun was stored, and there were no signs of forced entry through the doors or windows. The only possible entrance or exit was a small window gap, just a few inches wide.
If March 7th were here, she'd probably jinx it and accidentally reveal who the thief was.
The box containing Gu Yun was opened and the sword went missing, but none of the other swords in the room were touched. Which means...
Well, I do know about the box and the cursed sword.
Exactly. The suspect had a clear motive and took only Gu Yun. So, besides the ceremony participants, only the delegation members had access to the sword. In that case, why would they return it to the Xianzhou in the first place? That makes sense. The delegation, led by the Knight of Beauty, delivered the sword to the Artisanship Commission. The craftsmen who received it testified that they didn't take anything from the arsenal. In that case, why would they return it to the Xianzhou in the first place? That makes sense. The delegation, led by the Knight of Beauty, delivered the sword to the Artisanship Commission. The craftsmen who received it testified that they didn't take anything from the arsenal. Argenti? Oh, that Knight of Beauty. He was with the delegation when they handed over the sword to the Artisanship Commission. might not know, but he's the one who recognized the sword's origin on Kalevala and escorted it back to the Cienja. In other words, he's the one who made it possible for the sword to come home. So, he wouldn't have gone through all that trouble to bring it to the Law Fu if he wanted to keep the sword for himself, right? Master Gongshu checked the work records, and I questioned all the craftsmen and apprentices who were on shift at the time. But I didn't find any suspicious individuals. So, did you steal it? Then stop joking around.
I can prove that she came to me after leaving the Artisanship Commission, so she couldn't have stolen the sword.
To put it simply, not everyone who's seen the sword has been to the Artisanship Commission, and not everyone who might want the sword has seen it. So, the only remaining suspect is Miss Yunli.
Fair enough.
So,
I didn't steal the sword.
well, when you've eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. If you want to prove me wrong, you better come up with some solid evidence.
Let me gather my thoughts. I need to help Yunli clear her name. Did we miss any clues? Why is this flower petal inside the case? So, the thief took the sword from the case without picking the lock?
Yunli says she didn't steal the sword, and I am willing to believe her. But I know well that Yunli can be impulsive. So if she did steal the sword on a whim, I won't show her any favors. You were with Yunli yesterday, young lady, so you have the best chance to prove her innocence. Is there anything you need to ask me? No, she was still mad at me, so she didn't come by. If she had come with you, she wouldn't be a suspect right now. After the ceremony, Argenti carried the sword case, and together with the delegation, they were escorted by the Cloud Knights to the Artisanship Commission. The artisan there confirmed that the sword was safely stored. I'm counting on you, then.
Yes, I received your message yesterday and went to the arsenal to check on it. But when I went back this morning, all that was left was the case. I don't know anything else, so asking more questions won't help, I'm afraid. However, as the Master Artisan of the Artisanship Commission, I've got to clarify something. Even though the sword was stolen, this commission is still highly secure. Wait, no. I just remembered. My precious aromatons was smashed.
Who could have thought that the Miekaki vesa would be stolen? And that the prime suspect is General Huayan's granddaughter? Regardless, we've accomplished our mission. And now it's the Xianzhou's problem. By the way, why did that girl call it a cursed sword? It's quite upsetting. That's enough, young lady. Let me get something straight. On Kalevala, this sword has always been highly revered. The first master of the Mieja Kivesa slew countless demons and then passed it down to a line of wise monarchs. The monarchs would heed the guidance of the hero spirits within the sword and gain insight into defeating their enemies. What is, Helio? What? Never mind. The point is that the Mieja Kivesa did help the ancestors of Kalevala build a strong foundation. It's definitely not a cursed sword.
I don't want to make things difficult for official Dahao. Let's do this his way and prove my innocence. If I can find that cursed sword, I can prove my innocence right away. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. There's something else bothering me. Why would the thief take the sword, but leave the case behind? Did they melt down the sword like I wanted to? Yeah, maybe. But if the case was too much trouble, wouldn't it be too conspicuous to carry around the sword like that? In plain sight?
If you found any clues, feel free to tell everyone.
Thank you. But I'm not sure if I can convince Mr. Dahao.
100% sure. Fine. Let me go through my reasoning again, and you can interrupt if anything feels off. Throughout the entire incident, there was only one suspect who broke into the Artisanship Commission. That was Miss Yunli.
Your statement isn't quite accurate. Argenti, the delegation members, and even me, we were all at the Artisanship Commission at some point.
True. But they all left after delivering the sword. And the craftsman overseeing the handover confirmed that they couldn't have left with the sword. We looked into it as well. Before Gu Yun was handed over, the side crane at the entrance of the Artisanship Commission captured you leaving. But there's no record of Miss Yunli leaving.
Why would I dare leave through the main entrance after smashing the Arumatons?
Throughout the entire incident, there was only one suspect who broke into the Artisanship Commission, and that was Miss Yunli.
On second thought, maybe let me think about it again.
Take your time. Throughout the entire incident, there was only one suspect who broke into the Artisanship Commission.
On second thought,
Take your time. Throughout the entire incident, there was only one suspect who broke into the Artisanship Commission.
on second thought,
Take your time. Throughout the entire incident, there was only one suspect who broke into the Artisanship Commission, and that was Miss Yunli.
on second thought, maybe let me think about it again.
Take your time. My reasoning throughout the entire incident, there was only one.
On second thought,
Take your time. Throughout the entire incident, there was only.
on second thought,
Take your time. Throughout the entire.
your statement isn't
True. We looked into it as well.
Why would I dare?
Throughout the entire incident, Miss Yunli caused a ruckus at the Artisanship Commission, trying to take away Guyun. But you stopped her in her tracks.
What Dahao said seems right. Exactly. So at least Yunli didn't steal the sword at that time, because we were at the Arumaton warehouse.
If your testimony is reliable. I'm not implying anything. Miss Yunli caused a ruckus at the Artisanship. After bidding farewell to you, Yunli pretended to leave, but snuck into the arsenal alone and stole Guyun.
After Yunli and I went our separate ways, I messaged Master Gongshu to inform him about the incident. And much later, Master Gongshu told me the sword was confirmed safe. So up until that point, Yunli couldn't have stolen it. Can I prove this?
After bidding farewell to you, Yunli...
On second thought,
Take your time. After bidding farewell, we haven't found any other suspects or evidence.
looks like you're missing some crucial...
There are no signs of the arsenal being broken into, so...
No, the fact that there are no signs of a break-in is suspicious in itself. Which piece of evidence should I use to convince Dahao?
We haven't found any other suspects or evidence.
I carefully examined the lock of the sword case, and there were no signs of tampering or damage.
What does that mean?
As to why the case was never locked in the first place, only the people who delivered it to the Artisanship Commission would know. Plus, I found something else inside the case. Which piece of evidence should I use to further convince Dahao?
We haven't found any other suspects or evidence.
I found this in the crevice at the bottom of the case.
A rose petal? Huh. Yeah, I must have missed it during the search. Why was there a petal inside the case?
I don't know. But I do know that wherever that Knight of Beauty goes, he always leaves behind a trail of rose petals that's almost impossible to clean up.
My thoughts are a mess. Let me sort them out. The sword case was never locked, which is evidence that only someone who delivered the sword could have done that. And the rose petal was probably left behind by that Knight of Beauty. But how did he manage to take the sword from the Artisanship Commission? Why did he steal it after returning it here? And why would he leave that petal in the case?
I know. Guyun flew out of the case on its own. The Knight of Beauty only unlocked the box to aid its escape.
Don't be ridiculous. How can a sword escape from a case on its own?
You've never seen a flying sword before?
I've only heard about the Mieka Kifesa being able to fly in legends. But even if it could fly, why would the Knight of Beauty do this?
Like I said, the sword contains a heliobus. Argenti must have been under the control of the sword. Maybe he was under its control even before you arrived on the Lofu.
Official Dahao, where can we find that knight?
Let me see. The docking location of Argenti's ship. The one and only.
Let's go. We've got to find Argenti before that sword completely takes over his mind.